Fine. We took our property.
I would like to call the Monday, June 19, 2023 Urban Renewal Agency meeting to order at 6 p.m. Roll call. We have excused absences from Agent Greisen and Agent Santiago. Virtually, we have Agent Holmes and the rest are present. Approval of the agenda. I am looking for an approval of our urban renewal meeting agenda.
I move to approve.
I have a motion by Agent McHugh to approve. Second.
I'll second that.
Second by Agent Holmes. Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. This is a time that we have public comments for items not on the agenda pertaining to the Urban Renewal Agency. Like to speak regarding any matter not on the agenda and not scheduled for public hearing. Members of the public addressing council are requested to give their name and city of residence. Speakers are limited to testimony to 5 minutes, as we're limited to 30 minutes overall. Is there anybody comments or public comments for Urban Renewal Agency? Nothing. We'll close that. New business. It was election of chair and vice chair, but we just did that when I came on board. We voted at the beginning of the year. So did we want to just keep that or make any changes? Is that, Kim, are you the vice chair?
I am. I would be fine continuing if there isn't a motion to elect anyone else.
I'm chair and I'll be fine with that if you guys want to just keep that going again.
I move that we keep the same people in office that are there presently.
Any second?
Second.
Second by Agent Miller. Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we are opening up to a public hearing on the consideration of the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. Resolution number URA 1-23. We're holding a public hearing on the proposed approval budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024, making appropriations, imposing the tax, and categorizing the tax. This is a public hearing, so I'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the Urban Renewal Agency budget? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move it forward to council for discussion. City Manager Alexander Rains.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So as you stated, you have resolution number URA 1-23 in front of you this evening. It's for adopting the City of Scapoose's Urban Renewal Agency budget, making appropriations, declaring the ad valorem tax levy, and classifying the levy as approved by ORS 310.0602 for fiscal year 23-24. It is presented in the same manner it was presented to the Budget Committee. There were no requested changes, and we're here to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions regarding the budget?
I have a question.
Agent McHugh.
Not sure if it's a question, but it seems that the issue of branding is kind of lost to me. Lost. And I know we're working on it kind of pieces, but it seems like we're in a position that you get something going, so we decide what we want the city to look like. Maybe that's in the plan somewhere. I'm just not sure where it is, and it's kind of urgent that rolling and whatever capacity you want to get it rolling. So that's my question.
Okay, sure. And I just want to make sure, Councilor Holmes and Lori, did you hear what Councilor McHugh just said?
About 80% of it.
Okay, so he was just asking about the branding project and where we're at with that. And so I was just gonna just simply respond and just say that the money for the branding project is actually in the regular budget, not the urban renewal budget. We have had a couple meetings with the EDC about that process, to talk through some questions with them about the scope of work we wanted to put together. We do have a work session planned with council later in the summer to also have kind of that similar conversation and bring the feedback to you from EDC. So you can basically, so we can kind of wrap up doing the scope of work and then put out the RFP to actually hire the consultant team to help with the brand. So that is a council goal for this year and it is in process. So it is moving along. We just took some time to put together the scope of work since I think there was some kind of mixed feelings on what branding work really is. I think it's a little bit nebulous. And so we just wanted to ensure that when we came up with that scope of work and put it out, that everyone felt like it was really truly reflective of what they all wanted. But it is a goal and it is in process.
It's in the process.
Correct.
We're dealing with it more this summer.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Wanted to make sure too, with all the master plans that we're looking at and the 50-year plan, that, nothing looked like it would change. I think we can still go ahead with a branding exercise now and come out where we want, but also Columbia County through CET is doing a branding exercise right now.
Yes.
And so I think NJ's working with them as well, kind of seeing through their RFP process, just kind of see the process they're going through.
So I believe that the process they are going through will have some ability for the city to participate on some level. I actually did ask them if there was going to be kind of a more direct way for council to participate. I didn't really get a thumbs up on that, but I'm sure at some point you'll hear more about it. I don't know if they actually went through an RFP process or not, but I do believe they have a consultant team on board. All of that's kind of, as determined by the dollar amount they're using, generally speaking, with that kind of a procurement process. But no, I don't see why anything that's going on right now would in any way preclude the city from pursuing a branding project as you've outlined that you want to do. So we are still moving forward with that.
I think we're far enough behind the county ones that anything they are doing, we'll see that come out. We can kind of be in line.
Right.
I want to be completely opposite of what the county.
Well, and of course too, I mean, it's a big county, what they're going to be looking at and wanting to highlight and identify. I mean, it would be a lot different than what you would ultimately want to, focus on the most. So
Are we looking at a timeline like actually have a finished product like after the first of the year?
it really depends on how long it takes after we get the consultant team on board. So once we wrap things up with the scope of work process this summer, typically an RFP process takes about 3 months. And then at that point, I'm not exactly sure how much time the consultant team is going to want to complete this project. I don't know if the first of the year would be realistic, only because I think with the type of public input you're probably going to want through the process, maybe you want it as a exercise at the annual town meeting, or you want some open houses or things like that. And the more kind of involvement you have on that level, I think you get a better product, but it just takes a lot more time. So that's part of the question too, is what do you want that scope to look like?
Seems like right amount of, but just don't want to be real consultant heavy on this process. I don't know how we avoid that, but I guess it's in the RFP. But it seems like it's our plan, and that they're the experts on it. I know, but I think we can, as common citizens, can do a lot of that. I'm not trying to put extra work on the staff, but I just think we'd like to see more involvement from community process than maybe what we normally do. And sometimes surveys aren't quite enough. I think there are other ways that if we got a really active committee that was working on that with the consultant, and sometimes it seems like the consultants back and tell the committee what they found out, and the committee say, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but it should be the other way around. I'm not saying that's always happening, but the feeling I get is that the consultants are driving the ship and not the community. I'm way off there. Anybody else agree with me? Why not?
So I think the Economic Development Committee was going to be the advisory committee on that process and work with the consultant team to let them know kind of their expectations and give them feedback throughout the process. And again, like I was kind of mentioned earlier, I think it's possible the project could take maybe a little longer, but ensuring that that public, the public process, the public components are in there, it does make the process take longer, but I think you do end up with a better product. And so things like open houses, and then, the committee meetings are always open to the public, and incorporating, again, say, maybe it becomes an item at the annual town meeting or something like that. All of those things are opportunities where we can use those venues to get more input and more feedback from the community. It just usually means the project takes longer. That's the only, and so I don't see any reason why that's a problem. I'm just, but to your point with schedule, like I don't see it happening by the first of the year if you want to do all that public input, but I think the public input makes the end product better.
I'm not really criticizing anything. I'm just kind of, where I kind of like to see it.
Sure.
Process, because it's what's going to be identify us for a long time in the future. And
Mhm.
want to make sure we've got a bunch of people out there saying, where'd you come up with that?
Sure.
I do agree with that. I mean, I think that's what I want out of this as well. A consultant, or I just want some guidance, some direction of stuff, but it's our brand. It's what we're going to determine. I really believe.
And there's a
Agent Holmes.
Yeah, this is overall a great package of information. Thanks for putting it together. I just had a question on page 15. It looks like some of the line items don't match exactly to what's in the resolution, but what's in the resolution does match to some of the subsequent line item descriptions. So I'm just wondering if the chart on 15 needs to be updated, specifically administration is higher than what's in the resolution.
Kim, what document are you in right now?
You're in are you in
Uh,
the budget document?
yes.
Yep.
Assume that urban
Urban renewal
renewal
budget
document,
document. Thank you.
page 15.
Yes.
Correct.
The chart, okay. I thought I got all the charts updated. I've been using the sheet on page 14. That's kind of my basis, and I have learned a lot through this whole process. And one of the things I learned is not to make the charts before you've got all the numbers totally tied down, because you forget to change one of them, and
Okay.
this happens. But
Okay, so it's
I will get the chart updated to match what's on page 14 before I do the final draft and put it up on the website.
okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. And then you might see that a couple of places in the regular one. I think I thought I caught them all, but I know there were a couple of charts that I hope I have got fixed, but I will make sure this is fixed. Thank you,
Thanks.
Holmes.
Miller.
Just some additional clarification on the branding project. When I think we talked about the scope of work and decided to do the scope of work first after, was that like 4 meetings ago? And was it after Paul presented?
Mhm.
Okay, and just to clarify, to make sure everybody's on the same page, the intent or the purpose of the scope of work is so that we can all look at it and agree to what the scope is. So I think that will help us decide what we want the consultant to be involved in, and also what we want us to be involved in too. So I think we'll get a lot of clarification through approving the scope of work on what that's going to look like. And that as soon as we get the scope of work too, I think we'll also have some clarification or a better idea timeline also.
Just want to note, I've heard a couple of times through various meetings, people say, well, a consultant's going to tell us what to do. I don't think our thought of a consultant is to come and tell us what the brand is. It's just to do the legwork, not to define what that is. I just kind of heard that, not just you, but other folks have said that.
Well, I think too, just from a staff perspective, nobody currently on staff is a, quote, communications expert or a branding expert, right? And so we also just are looking at this in terms of wanting to be professional and get it right, and having someone kind of with some of that expertise to help us is more of like a facilitator, and then to do kind of produce that end product that you want, but not to tell us what that's going to be. So, and we've been really thoughtful about that, especially since we have heard that feedback. So.
Thank you. We don't know either. They might have some.
Correct. Yeah, and sometimes they have good ideas or suggestions, or that can be really helpful because it's just stuff we don't think about. Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Discussion? Yes, Kim, Agent Holmes.
Sorry. One final question here. So just to help me understand how the use of the urban grant money relates to some of the projects that are outlined, particularly in the wastewater and water improvement section. So if I'm interpreting this correct, the money from the urban renewal agents or district will be used to support the administrative oversight of implementing some of these other projects that have grants and loans. Is that correct?
So there is administrative funds that will be used to cover, like, basically overhead administration in the city in terms of working on those. In terms of actually paying for staff, this year is the first year that there's going to be any urban renewal funds going to staffing, but it's very minimal. It's just going to 5% of the associate planner's salary. And then, we do have a certain amount of funds that are going towards the grant program. As of right now, it's all been grants based on just the conversations with the agency and the committee. Of course, you could look at loans, but I think ultimately there was a decision made at some point in the not too distant past just to go with grants. That can always be changed. And then there are some funds that were identified in the project plan, some to go towards the wastewater treatment plant and some to go towards some water projects. So there you are seeing those funds reflected in this coming year's budget.
Okay, thank you. So for example, like on page 22, we've got, let's just say the Headworks and Influent Pump Station for $5.5 million. So is a portion of the Urban Renewal District funds going towards that project, or is that an example of where like Urban Renewal District funds are going to be just used for like administration and oversight of that project?
So this chart is just showing you the capital improvement plan projects that would be basically update or will be identified in the plan as approved projects that we can put money towards. So if you look at the bigger urban renewal plan, it's going to show that these projects are in there and that they are approved projects we can put funding towards. And then the project cost is, if you're looking at 22, the project cost, that's the total cost that they thought that it would cost at that time. And I guess this was approved in 2019, so 2019 dollars. But these are not at the moment, like there isn't money available to start funding these. Some of these are being worked on currently. And also there is an IGA in place between the city and the Urban Renewal Agency that at year 10 of the agency, there is money that's going to start getting paid back to the city in a certain amount. I believe it's 1.2 million to help cover some of these costs. It is in general a very infrastructure heavy project, or excuse me, plan. But so this is kind of just an example of the things that are approved in the plan. It's not really what's being like funded yet.
So
Makes
on
sense.
page 21, there is 148,000.
Yeah, she was talking about the chart on 22, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause that amount was budgeted for this year.
Right.
Go toward one of these projects that is in the urban renewal area.
Oh, okay, thank
So,
you. That's
yeah.
helpful. Okay, so that's the money that's earmarked, and then that's the list of projects that could be
Approved
eligible.
projects.
Go to, yes.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so that's what would be allowable per the plan.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It's the same also with the transportation of six.
Yes. Yeah. So the lists in the urban renewal district budgets are the ones that are in the plan as approved projects when the funding comes available.
I used to have them laid out like that.
It's helpful.
Okay. Moving along, any more discussion? Seeing none. We have a motion to accept the Urban Renewal District fiscal year 2023, 2024 annual budget written. And if we do the changes to these graphs, we don't have to note that. We're just accepting the budget.
You want them to
Just-
note the changes to the graphs?
Any changes she'll have to make this document.
You just instruct her to adopt it, and make the change that the art matches. We
Okay.
prefer that since the historical documents later, I prefer that we do update them. So we'll just make a motion to approve updated amendments.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I move that council approve the Urban Renewal District fiscal year 2023-2024 annual budget, the amendments, excuse me, that council discussed. Salma.
we
That's
have
fine. I answered
a
everything.
motion by Agent Miller. Any second?
I'll second.
Agent LaFrance, second. Any more discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we are adjourned then for our urban renewal, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes.